Friday night United pubcast. Nothing much to talk about, lads. It's Larry, your host, and we're changing it up a little bit. Tom's taken the honors, but we've decided last minute that I'll do the dirty work. Tom gets to enjoy himself today, and we're joined by Josh as well. How are we, lads? Friday night, cracking day in Sydney.
Yeah, I'm part of the Freedom Group. I'm off to the gym, so I was sort of prepared for a bit of a beer tonight, but the body is in no shape for a beer after that workout. So on the waters tonight, but it's always a good weekend looking ahead to Liverpool.
Internet,
no matter how nervy the week is with Liverpool ahead, you still kind of look forward to it.
Has your internet improved, Tom, with the jab?
Bit of static, but I'll be right.
Yeah, it's strong 5G. Josh, how are you, mate?
Great, mate. Honestly, I'm still living off the high of Atlanta. I mean, yesterday was a fantastic day. I did my record ever 5K in the gym straight after full time. I then sort of ruined all the efforts by going out drinking last night. So, yeah, swings and roundabouts, as I always say. But look, really, really excited for the game on Sunday. So we'll see what happens.
I wish Paul Pogba had your work rate in the midfield. But nonetheless, lads, we're obviously here to talk about Liverpool. What a massive game this is. And if you are joining us, get in the comments, like the video, join in. But let's talk about Liverpool. And we'll start with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Where else would we start? He's obviously under massive pressure. Wednesday was looking scary for him at halftime, but United do happen to turn it around. What does a loss mean? Now, obviously, the title of this video is Why United Can Win, but let's talk about the other side of the coin. It's a great side. Liverpool are in form, and they're winning games that they shouldn't. The Atletico match, a clear example of that. What would a loss mean? Tom, I'll start with you.
I think it's hard. I think there's two types of losses. There's a loss where, it's a tight game against a good team and the better team on the day wins. Or there is what Liverpool have been doing to teams in recent weeks. And I think there's that stat they've scored 3 goals in every away game for the past however many games sort of thing. So there is always that fear in the back of your mind that Salah's going to score a hat-trick and we lose 5-0. And if that happens, well, that's a different story compared to a close-fought 2-1 win just on the day we're the unlucky team. So there's two different sort of outcomes if we were to lose the match. If we had lost to Atalanta and we lost this Liverpool game, I think the writing was on the wall. I think he would have had to have gone because, God, then we're talking Villarreal was the last win type thing. So I think that Atalanta game does save him a little bit. However, if the situation does arise where we do get smashed in sort of a bad manner, I think you do still have to revisit it. And we're all three of us have sort of come to the conclusion that ultimately he does need to go. But without that ideal candidate, I think it almost makes no sense to really sack him at the moment. However, the job might become untenable, like it or not, if there is a smasher, which I don't think there will be, which we'll get into how the game will unfold. But we do have to sort of prepare ourselves for that situation because you have mentioned how good Liverpool are, and not just Liverpool. We'll get into Mo Salah as well, but it's going to be a tough game.
It is going to be a tough game. Josh, let's flip it around. What if United win? Are we going to praise the tactical masterclass that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer set out? Is he going to get the credit for his team selection? Or is it simply down to another bout of, individual brilliance like it always is when we win?
I think that just summarises our fans at the moment, Larry. I think, 30% of us will be like, it's a great job, it's a tactical masterclass. And to be fair, you beat a Liverpool team at Old Trafford, but it's not lost in the Premier League this season. It's a great achievement. A win is a win. And I think with United, it doesn't really matter about the performance. But it didn't matter about the performance with Atlanta. You're on such a run of poor form in the league and also in the Champions League after a bad start. I don't care how we won the game against Atlanta as long as we won. And I think Liverpool's sort of following on that pattern, especially in the league. Doesn't really matter how pretty it is. Solskjaer may get the credit, he may not if we win. As long as we win, fantastic result. Get that poor run of form we've been seeing in the league out of the way.
I'll take a win either way. All right, lads, let's get it out of the way. We have to talk about Mo Salah. Is he the best player in the world at the moment? You obviously it's always been Ronaldo, it's always been Messi. People have thrown Mbappe up there in recent years, Neymar, Lewandowski, Benzema. But what this guy's doing, credit where it's due, he's playing some unreal football. Tom, I know you don't really rate him that highly, but please answer this question. Is he the best player in the world? And if he's not, tell us why.
Look, on form, I can't argue. He definitely takes that cake. You have to sort of take your hat off to him, give him all the credit that he does deserve, because you just have to look at the numbers, his performances. He delivers on the stage every single time. It's one of the things that gets thrown at him is this one season wonder, but that sort of one season wonder has been happening for 4 or 5 years now, so we can't use that stick to beat him with. However, I do sort of look back at things and go, is he the best player in the world? Okay, let's say, I don't know, an athletic thing. Let's say Usain Bolt. If someone runs faster than Usain Bolt today, does that mean he's quicker than Usain Bolt? Well, no, Usain Bolt's still quicker, just on the day that sort of wasn't the thing. And that doesn't really refer back to sort of the one season wonder. But I just do look at Mo Salah. And I was at school about last year, sort of thing, last time I was at school in regards to COVID. But one of the kids had Mo Salah's sort of goals on, remember the season where he scored 40-something goals, had his YouTube highlights up. Scored 44 goals or something. I'm telling you, 39 of them were the defenders falling over their own feet or the goalkeepers driving the wrong way or a fouled offside trap on halfway, whether he's just run through and scored. And look, he takes all the credit for it. Of course, he's world class. Of course, he's brilliant. But for me as a player, I think Mane is a more dangerous player. I'm much more worried about Mane. Like, for example, Larry, I'll throw it to you. When Matteo Darmian was up against Mo Salah or Luke Shaw was up against Mo Salah, I expect those players to deal with him, and they have dealt with him in the past.
No, that's a valid point, but I guess I'll ask Josh, and this is the evolution in Mo Salah's game, in my opinion. He's dribbling with the ball now. He's doing things that you just don't expect him to do. He's getting that where it's a 50-50, 90% of the time, it's now a 80-20. He's just getting that stroke of luck at the moment. The goal, I can't remember who it was against. Was it against Watford? He dribbled past 3 people like they were just left for dead. They didn't have an answer to his prayer. It was unbelievable. So Josh, I take Tom's point, but I think Mo Salah is a different beast this season.
I was quite excited for this point because I literally I listened to your podcast this morning, and Tom sort of ended on that cliff note saying, for me, he's overrated. He sort of left on that little cliffhanger there. So I don't think you can argue. He's the best. He's definitely the best player in the league this season. He probably will end up finishing the best player in the league because Liverpool have been phenomenal this season. Hopefully that won't continue at the weekend. But the thing for me for Salah is I think he thrives off brilliance. And if the team's collectively playing well, you get the best out of him. And you're really seeing that this season. And you saw it the season before that. Last season, maybe not so much. And I think that's just down to, the injuries Liverpool had. I know it's an excuse I never like to use saying, we didn't have a back four, which is why we didn't win the league, which is probably in essence is why they didn't win the league. But yeah, I think he really does depend on people around him to really get the best out of him. And it's beginning to show again this season, what we're so used to seeing probably, 1-2 seasons before last. Yeah, hope it doesn't happen on Sunday. But the thing I will say, and Tom sort of alluded to it, and you alluded to it as well, Larry, is he's easily markable, and he does go missing in games against us. I mean, I think I can remember a handful of times where he's actually had a decent performance against us in the past. Most of the time, if you're given a job of man marking him, you can do it. And I think that's emulated in the fact, you look at the times when Mourinho went to Anfield and, we drew 0-0 quite a few times, and that was just down to containing him.
Comparing it back to, and I'll throw it to you, Larry, quickly. I remember when Luis Suarez and different players, again, taking nothing away from what Salah is currently doing, but the point Josh just made there in terms of him being easily marketable, I remember when Luis Suarez used to get the ball back to goal on halfway, my heart was in my mouth thinking, oh my God, he might score here. He might do something. And obviously we do look at what Salah's done the last couple of games. When it looks like he can't score, he sort of dribbles his way through, so fair play to him. But I was terrified when Luis Suarez was on the pitch. I was thinking, geez, he's going to hurt us. I'm thinking now, and look, I've been very critical of Luke Shaw. I back Luke Shaw to deal with him. Now, that might come back to haunt me when Salah scores a hat-trick type thing, but I'll be disappointed if Luke Shaw can't deal with Mo Salah. And I know that sounds stupid.
It's the same with Fernando Torres. It's exactly the same. With Torres, it was the same. And you look at the 2012 season, the chance where he missed a sitter in the open net, he completely exposed the defence leading up to that.
Yeah, hard to disagree.
Vidic still having nightmares over Torres. I love Nemanja Vidic, but every time Torres played against him, he had him on toast. Just one of those matchups. All right, the Premier League debate. I've seen these comparisons, and I have to bring it up. I know Cristiano Ronaldo isn't the player he was when he was at Manchester United the first time around, but I've seen the statistics going around, picking up little bits and pieces here. Mo Salah's got more goals and assists than Ronaldo. All right, look, I can't believe I even have to ask if this is a question. Would you take a prime Mo Salah, or would you be taking a prime Cristiano Ronaldo when he was running down the wing, tearing defenses apart? Not even a debate for me, but I have to ask the question. Everyone else seems to be doing it. Please, lads.
Well, it's not a debate for me. Like, okay, the answer is when we're talking about the greatest players of all times, we're talking Pele, Maradona, and Messi and Ronaldo in that discussion now. And a lot of people, maybe even rightly so, have Messi and Ronaldo above Pele and Maradona. Salah's simply not in that discussion. And that's not a criticism of Salah. Like, he's world class, but it's definitely not a criticism. But yeah, it's prime Ronaldo, of course. But I think what I've seen the discussion, and I'll go to Josh in terms of the discussion I've seen, is Salah in regards to Premier League greats. Now, Ronaldo's a bit of a different kettle of fish in there because, okay, like the Usain Bolt thing, okay, if he sprints this time on this day and another time on another day, who's the quickest? But Ronaldo's best football obviously came in Spain. Now, he did do wonders in the first three, in his first spell. You just have to look at what he won. He won 3 Premier League titles. And while that was a great team, I wouldn't say it was a one-man team, but Ronaldo was a huge influence on those 3 titles. So I think we forget, we say, oh, his best football came at Real Madrid. Well, no, some very good football did come at Manchester United. So I think it's hard to throw Ronaldo in there. Like I think people find it harder to put the Ronaldo in the Premier League greats. But you look at, I don't know, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, Steven Gerrard. I hate to throw that name in there, but you put him in there, Thierry Henry, Didier Drogba. Mo Salah has been great, but 1 Premier League title and a few golden boots. I think fair play to him, but that doesn't get you in the discussion of greatest Premier League player of all time.
Hard to disagree with you there, Tom, for me. Yeah, hard to disagree. What I will say is I do, and we sort of glimmer of it maybe last season, is I do sort of miss having like a front three that Liverpool do where your strikers and your wingers are equally contributing in terms of goals. I mean, it was the first time last season, I think Greenwood got 20, was Rashford on 20, and Martial, maybe the season before, was City on 20. I sort of get a little bit envious of that and thinking, oh, maybe one day we can sort of try and emulate that where everyone's sort of contributing the goals as opposed to one main sort of, physical presence up front, which is probably what we're going to see with Ronaldo. He's going to probably get the bulk of our goals this season. Yeah, Fernandes, Rashford, he's looking very promising since his return, I must say, may contribute, but it's not going to be stand out, unfortunately.
We'll talk about how United set up, but I don't know if I agree with that. I think Rashford's going to have a big season. Something about the way he's playing. I know he missed a couple sitters, but you look at the way he was so commanding on the pitch the other night. I think he's going to really. I think Rashford's going to start pushing. We'll know this by the end of this season. Put it this way, I think we'll know if we're going to put him in that world-class debate or not in years to come. I think we'll know after this season. But he's looking like you can see the difference in his play compared to the last 2 seasons for sure. But I will come to the comments before we continue the discussion. We've got the football capital. How are we, lads? Yeah, we're doing all right. It's Friday, sunny day. I've spent the day at the beach actually. It's been nice. Hope you're doing well as well, lads. Hey.
Tough life, I see.
Yeah, it is.
Tough life,
very tough life. I've got Trev. Evening, lads. Evening, Trev. Football capital. Is it just you or does Salah always chase his first touch? And happy birthday to Vidic. Happy birthday to the most brutal Serbian that's ever lived. But Mo Salah, yeah, that's an interesting point. I think he's got a bit of Lukaku about him. Obviously, his first touch isn't that bad.
I think that might be a part of it for me. I think aesthetically, I think you do like Ronaldo. Messi's a better footballer than Ronaldo, but the reason Ronaldo is better for me is what he produces. Salah produces. That's what counts. But aesthetically, yeah, he's not the most pleasing on the eye. Yeah,
I think that's a very fair point. And we've got Jamie from Ireland. Morning, lads. Morning, Jamie. Hope you're well, mate. Have a nice Irish coffee for me. That was some good times in Ireland. Have you guys ever had an Irish coffee? Delightful.
Don't drink coffee, but it's all you see.
Delightful.
Many a time, Larry. Many a time.
That's my man, Josh. I'll catch you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Coogee Pavilion. Be ready. All right, lads. Let's talk about Liverpool. Why we can talk about how United will beat them, but we need to realize what we are coming up against. Let's first of all talk about their strengths. When you're looking at Liverpool, what do you see as their greatest attribute as a football side?
Just their intensity. They don't stop attacking. And the hardest thing to do when you're attacking in whatever sport, especially football, when you have the ball, you can do as much running as you want. You won't get tired. You won't break a sweat. The moment you have to chase the ball for 5 seconds, that is when you have to start breathing because you're reacting to everything the opposition does. And because they're just constantly on the attack, they constantly keep you on the back foot. You're having to defend and react to everything they do. So when you finally win the ball, you're absolutely buggered. You lose the ball straight away, then you defend it again, and the problems sort of exemplify themselves. So I just think the intensity they attack and they pin teams back. I remember, Kash, am I back to when United were sort of prime United 10, 15 years ago? The camera used to just focus on one end of the pitch. our defenders used to camp themselves on halfway, and the game was played in that half. Where you watch Liverpool now, the game is often played in the opposition's half, and you look at United's games, it's end to end. Okay, might be fantastic for the neutral, but it's end to end. Okay, you attack, we attack. It's quite even. But from a fitness point of view, I think they'd really do sort of suffocate teams, and that's a huge strength for me. You can talk about tactics, you can talk about quality. I think it's almost down to a fitness thing where they just suffocate teams.
Josh, that's been a criticism of United. Talking about that intensity, we saw when Ollie first came in, he said, I want my side to run more than any other football team. We're not quite there yet. And the criticism of United has been, they're not actually a pressing team at the moment. Well, we try to work out the balance with Ronaldo and co. When you look at Liverpool, what part of their game do you look at that's most impressive? Is it how high their wingbacks play? Is it their intensity over the 90 minutes, the way they constantly press teams? What really appeals to you about the way way Liverpool play?
I think it's the high press for me. How they really suffocate teams, as you alluded to. But in all honesty, that can also be their detriment. You got to remember, so many times we've been saying Liverpool have the best defensive centre-back partnership in the world at the moment. But look how many they've conceded this season. And they've had a really strong back four. They've had Van Dijk playing regularly. And they've conceded 3 to Brentford. They've conceded 2 against Man City at home. And obviously it's Man City, they've got world-class players in their team. But playing that high press can be a really, really real detriment to them. I mean, you saw that last year. They got thrashed by Aston Villa for doing the same thing. Yeah, it can work against probably 90% of the teams in the league. But if you get found out, it can really get exposed. And look, it's happened. It was that mad weekend last year in the Premier League where Liverpool got thrashed to Villa. United got thrashed against Spurs at home. Long may we forget that.
Well, you look at the 2 goals that we scored against them, or we scored 3 goals. One was a free kick, but a lot of people forget we beat them last year at Old Trafford in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Okay, it was the FA Cup. They had 1 or 2 players out, but okay, it was still an FA Cup. They still had, I think, Salah scored, so they had Mo Salah playing, etc. But the 2 first goals we scored was a long ball by Rashford over the top for Greenwood, and then someone played the ball through for Marcus Rashford in behind. So, and I think the famous thing I know, Larry, you'll bring it up in regards to Rashford and probably Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's maybe a lazy thing, but I don't think it is too lazy because it is something that teams will target. Our left wing is so strong. Whoever plays there, most likely, or hopefully Marcus Rashford if he's fit. But it will be something we target, trying to get in behind that right winger, sort of the right back, because he will bomb forward. I don't think they will come with maybe they'll be a little bit cautious. But do you see, Larry, in terms of Marcus Rashford almost being the key in terms of maybe stopping Trent Alexander-Arnold getting forward, but also trying to get in behind him if he does get forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good segue into Manchester United. How does Ollie set up his side is going to be crucial here. And we are going to see, for all the banter aside around, whether he's a tactical genius or not, I think the way United set up for this game is going to be important. No one wants to hear it, but it's going to happen. United need to sit back and they need a counterattack. That's what they need to do. I don't care what the formation is. It needs to be one where you allow Liverpool to come onto us and then you break them with, we talk about Liverpool's strengths. United's strengths are they got pace. We've got pace all over the pitch. Bruno Fernandes, while not absolutely rapid, is pacey. Marcus Rashford, certainly is the quickest at the club. Sancho, Cristiano Ronaldo at 36 years of age will still burn Tom. We've got pace all over the side, and I think United need to play to our strengths while exposing Liverpool's weaknesses. I agree with you. I think it has to be a case of play Rashford on the left. I think there's an argument for a 2-man system. So I want to ask both of you guys, a 2-striker system, I should say. How do United set up? Do you expect the standard 4-3-2-1? Do you think United go 3 at the back? We've seen that against Liverpool in the past. Tom, what do you think Solskjaer is going to do in this one?
I agree with your approach in terms of sitting back and using sort of Marcus. I don't want to sort of pin all the hopes on Marcus Rashford, but I really do think our game plan, and it's not a tactic, I guess you can call it a tactic, but it really comes down to trying to get Rashford in behind Trent Alexander-Arnold and just sort of picking and choosing your chances. I wouldn't be saying parking the bus with 3 at the back, but I would be saying not park the bus, but I would be soaking up pressure in just the common way Solskjaer does it in terms of a back 4 and Fred and McTominay. Now we'll have a discussion. Fred, obviously Solskjaer hasn't had his press conference yet in terms of Fred's fitness. If Pogba comes in for Fred and that changes the dynamic in midfield, can you sit there with 2? And that will change things. But let's say Fred is fit, McTominay and Fred playing there and really soak up pressure. People call it a back 6 or a back 5, however you want to sort of dissect it. But I think that'll be the case. I can't see how we can almost get in behind Trent Alexander-Arnold with that two-striker system, because I think then the width is coming from, let's say, Luke Shaw or Alex Tellez. I can't see them bombing that far forward. I think the width has to come from someone who's naturally higher up the pitch anyway in a first instant.
Josh, let me ask you this question. Tom's brought up the midfield, and I'm going to ask it to you then. For the midweek game, we said Paul Pogba is likely the one to drop out. If I was choosing this side, I'd actually be pulling Bruno out of the team this week. I'd be playing Pogba. And let me ask you why. Tom, I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Because if you're going to play on the counter-attack, you're going to need someone to put long balls into the channels. And who's our best passer of the ball? It's Paul Pogba. He's the one with the distance, the long-range passing. No one's going to want to hear it. Fred and McTominay should be playing in this game. So if you're going to play them, you've got room for one creative outlet who's going to be putting in those long balls in behind. And while Bruno can do it, I think you should trust Pogba to do it. I think he'll do it more efficiently. Josh, what do you think about that? Or how would you go with the setup if you don't agree with me?
I agree. I do agree with your justifications for it. Like it's going to be one of them games where, and I don't like to sort of bring it up because he sort of was a bit of a party people when Scholes was saying, Klopp would be laughing really because United are just playing with two midfielders and the rest sort of attackers, and they've been exposed a few times. And to an extent, we did get exposed in that game against Atlanta, but I don't think he will drop Fernandes. Personally, I don't even think Fred will start. In all honesty, I don't think he's fit. I think he might have had a bigger injury than we thought. So I think Matic will come in.
Is Fred injured?
Big dilemma for me, I think he picked up a bit of a knock in the game. Atlanta, nothing's been confirmed, but he looked like he looked pretty, not like serious, but it could very well be a doubt. Put it this way, on fantasy football, not that I have Fred in my team, but it was showing Amber. You get a little bit worried. The one question I've got for you guys is Varane's back training. He's back fully training now. Do you think he does what he did against Leicester? Shoots him straight in, or do you reckon he's learned from Maguire?
I'll take an undercooked Raphael Varane over an undercooked Maguire. I'll tell you that. You can trust Varane.
You can trust Varane, but can you trust the fitness? I think what a fantastic signing he is. What a fantastic player. But it's one of the things when you do dissect the signing and look at his fitness record, he is, I wouldn't say injury prone, but he does pick up quite a few injuries type things. So we sit here and say, yes, we need Varane playing, of course. However, I was saying the same thing with Harry Maguire against Leicester. Then we said, oh, hang on, I shouldn't have said that. I think would very look. I wouldn't complain if Raphael Varane was thrown in. I'll be very surprised, and I think Solskjaer might actually. I think he's quite stubborn with a lot of his team selections, and that's both a positive and a negative. But I think he was actually quite, as you say, a bit burnt by that Harry Maguire situation.
I think this is a good game for Lindelof. We saw when I forgot his name. Sorry, the Atlanta striker, the big lad, he came on, he turned Lindelof, and that's where Lindelof struggles. But Liverpool don't have a physical presence up front, so I think if you have to go with Maguire Lindelof, I think you can get away with it for this game. But I actually want to ask you both. Give me your starting 11. I'll give you mine first. I know I said what I said I would do, but I'm going to go with what I think Solskjaer will do. He will go 4-2-3-1. It'll be your back four is going to be your back four. It'll be Maguire Lindelof. I think it'll either be Fred and McTominay. If Fred's not fit, like you're saying, it'll be Matic McTominay. I think he goes Pogba on the left, Bruno in the middle, Rashford on the right, and he'll go Ronaldo up front.
Yeah, look, I don't want to see that, but I could definitely see your thinking behind that, and there's a very likely case that's going to happen. I think you say Matic, and I would like to see Nemanja Matic in there if Fred isn't there. However, I think he left Paul Pogba out once against Atalanta, and he's a brave man to do it twice. I think if Fred isn't there, I think he puts Pogba in the midfield with McTominay. We have seen in big games, he has sometimes, I remember the Europa League final, and once or twice this season, he has gone Pogba and McTominay. I remember Villarreal sort of thing. So he does revert to that a little bit if Fred's not available. And I just think
Liverpool play though, Tom.
I'm definitely not saying that's what I'll do. I'll prefer Matic in there rather than Paul Pogba. But as you say, where do you fit Paul Pogba in? Okay, put him on the left-hand side. Well, who's playing those long balls into that left-hand channel then if Paul Pogba's supposed to be there? So I understand in terms of trying to fit him in there. I just don't know where to.
He won't occupy the left. Josh, let me ask you, because what I see I see Pogba more tucking in somewhere in that midfield. He never occupies a wide left position. But because we're going to soak pressure, I think it's just putting an extra man in the middle. And then you'll have Rashford almost playing like a second striker with Ronaldo. What do you think, Josh?
To be fair, Larry, you'll be surprised. I 100% agree with your lineup. Don't think there'll be much difference. If I was to pick any surprises, I think if Varane is somehow fit enough and passes the fitness test, I think he comes in for Lindelof. I think you're right in the sense Greenwood doesn't start. And I think that's probably the right decision. I think to inject a bit of energy later on in the game. Fingers crossed if we're still in it when he comes on. It'd be really good to bring him on sort of, with half an hour to go. Don't think Sancho makes a start. So Tom, in what you said, if Paul Pogba comes to part of the McTominay, if Fred's out, who comes in? Do you
I
bring
think
Greenwood and
it would
Rashford
just
as
be.
well?
Yeah, I think Rashford would be on the left, and in my opinion, I think Sancho's done enough to start over Mason Greenwood on the right-hand side. So I think it'd be Pogba, McTominay, and Bruno in the middle, and just your normal front three. However, I'll throw it to you, Larry. Remember what we did at Anfield last season? Paul Pogba was on the right-hand side.
He was, and that's the thing. I could just see him setting up like that because we're not going to have the ball. We're just not going to have the ball. I know it's Old Trafford, and United should, dominate at home and blah blah blah. But you need to get the result, and I think that is the best way to counter Liverpool. I think you need to pack the midfield because, like you said, Josh, they do dominate the ball and they will try and camp in United's half. We just got to hit them on the break, and I think that's the best way to do it. I don't think he'll go with Sancho because Sancho doesn't have the work rate that you need for this game. That's why I think he'll opt for a compact midfield. Pogba will line up on the left when you see the team line up, but he'll be very much in the middle, and I think he'll just be Sancho, Rashford. Just get in there, be ready for the counter-attack.
What I'd ask there in terms of, okay, I completely agree. Pogba, okay, on the bit of paper, he looks on the left-hand side. He obviously doesn't play on the left-hand side. However, don't you think that is really naive from Solskjaer? Who is on the left-hand side then? Okay, if you're lining up but Rashford, okay, again, paper's different to grass, but if Rashford's on that side of the pitch, we're not really targeting there. I don't want to say Trent Alexander is a bad player, but he is maybe their weak spot. And that's where I need Rashford on the left-hand side. I just think, could you see Pogba lining up on the left-hand side on paper, but it actually been Marcus Rashford, and we'd sort of maybe no one really on the right-hand side?
Yeah, look, I hope it's Rashford against Trent. You'd be stupid not to do it.
Yeah. No,
All
completely agree.
Josh, I'm going to give you the honors. Give me a score prediction. Be brave, be bold.
Well, one is, 3-0 United. I don't think it'll be like that. I think, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think it's a game Liverpool need to win. I think they'll be perfectly happy to come to Old Trafford, get a point. It's not a bad result. They've played some big games this season. The draw away from home, not a bad result. 0-0, personally. Sorry.
I can see it too. Tom?
And then 0-0 wouldn't shock me at all. And I would be saying a draw. Now, the betting man, you'd probably think Liverpool are favourites and go into the match trying to win. Yeah, I could very much see a draw. They're very often 1-1 draws or 0-0 draws type thing. I think more often 0-0s at Anfield. But look, they're due a bad result. We're due a big result. No, that's not how football works. Obviously, it's 11 players on the pitch. I have to deal with it. But I can see a situation where we get thumped. But I can also see a situation where we win and sort of off the bat, Solskjaer not saving his job, but in the terms of the way the narrative does play out, saving his job with this big result because he does come up big in these big games. So my money would be on a draw, maybe a 1-0 draw, but I wouldn't be shocked putting a little bit of money on maybe a 2-1, 3-1 win for United.
3-1, confidence. I could see a 2-1.
I'm thinking 2-1 and then 88th minute they're pushing forward, Rashford or Ronaldo on the counter.
I think 2-1 United, and I'm saying that because when Solskjaer's back is against the wall, history tells us he gets a big result. So I'm just going to back that. I'm definitely going I'm going hard over head with this one. But I think we'll concede early because that's just what United do. We'll claw it back 1-1, and then I think I could go for a Bruno penalty, 90th minute. I'm just going to be optimistic, lads.
Well, 90th minute penalty, Bruno, is he taking it?
It'll be Ronnie, won't it? Ronnie, all right, Ronnie to take the pen. And then just so we can say, yeah, clearly Ronaldo's the best player in the world. Eat that, Mo Salah.
All right, lads. He's sure a win against Liverpool, Ale. He's not beating them in the league, has he?
I don't think that's the last one we have beat. We obviously beat them in the FA Cup last year. I think the last time we beat them was Rashford's double under Mourinho.
Yeah.
I have a feeling. Which is a long time ago. Lukaku was starting for us, for God's sake. A long time ago.
We are due. All right, lads. I think that's a good way to leave it. We've got Trev in the comments coming from an Ollie and McFriend critic. 2-1 United. That's the way, Trev. Let's all be naive and optimistic. And then if it works out, great. If not, can say, well, I was just being tongue-in-cheek anyway. Lads, enjoy your Friday night.
Correct statement as well, isn't it? He's not said I'm an Ollie out critic. He's just an Ollie critic. That's what we like to see.
It's the safest comment.
On the fence, politically correct comment.
Yeah, you've
No
got
win,
a
all right.
got a career in politics, Trev. So keep up the good work, lads. Been a pleasure. Have a great Friday night. Hopefully, we're here celebrating 3 points over Liverpool Monday. Hey.
Well, I'm back at work on
Okay.
Monday, Larry, so we can maybe just start discussing a traditional pubcast back at the pub.
Oh, stop it, Tom. Don't excite me. Don't excite me like that. I've already showered. Come on.
You do look fresh.
All
You
right.
do look fresh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fresh and sunburn.
I am a little bit red. You know, I always try to blend in with you, Josh. Lads, I hope you have a
Exactly,
good night.
I'm gonna be red.
Have a
You
good
too,
night, lads.
boys.
Cheers for tuning in as well. Make sure you do like the video. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that as well. We are creeping up on that 250 mark. So fingers crossed. Lads, pleasure as always. And I'll see you Monday.
See you, mate.
So yeah.